And in Pennsylvania, hundreds rallied outside the state capitol against the governor's stay-at-home orders. Those demonstrators protesting even as the governor announced 13 more counties will be moving to the yellow phase of his reopening plan. And all of this comes just one day after President Trump visited the battleground state, urging its Democratic governor to move faster. NBC's Maura Barrett spoke with the protesters on the ground. Take a listen.
There's people that have their own private businesses. What are they supposed to do? I mean, how are they supposed to feed their kids? How are they supposed to put diapers on their babies? Feed them.
It's not right, and it's not right to have everybody closed down. And we have a small selection of the stores where we could shop. I'm hanging on to my money. I'm hanging on to any stimulus or any money that I've gotten. I'm not spending it here, not as long as this tyranny exists.
We feel awful for what has happened in the long-term care, but we need to take care of them. But we know how to do that now. And Florida and Georgia and South Carolina, you know, those states are our map forward.
And Maura joins us now from outside Pennsylvania's capital. Maura, tell us what you're seeing.
Echoes of impeach Governor Wolf and lock her up, referring to the Secretary of Health here in Pennsylvania, are echoing around the state capitol here today as protesters are gathered for the second time looking for the state to reopen. The governor actually just announced that 13 more counties next week will be opening, so that brings us to more than half of the state here. But we're seeing lots and lots of people, hundreds, in fact, outside of their cars on the steps of the Capitol behind me. Lots of Trump 2020 signs, MAGA hats, a lot of support for the president and the country overall as folks are looking for the state to reopen and get back to business. I spoke with some folks earlier, and what's different from this time than last time is that they're telling me that they have this distrust in the numbers that they're seeing both from local and federal government. They don't believe that there's as many cases or as many deaths as they're reporting, and so they're frustrated about the fact that they think the government is lying to them. They think that there's government tyranny, and so they're hoping to be able to get back out to their favorite businesses. They don't want the government telling them where they can shop. One man telling me he's actually going to save his stimulus money and go down to Maryland in order to spend that money. And so people are really frustrated with the Democratic governor, saying that they're going to be voting red in November, in fact, as a protest against the Democrats here in this battleground state of Pennsylvania. Allison, this comes, of course, as the president visited the state just yesterday, also encouraging Pennsylvania to open and saying that counties that weren't as affected need to get back to work as soon as possible.
Another state to see its stay-at-home orders expiring today, Arizona, where restaurants and gyms, even water parks, are reopening one day after the state reported 30 coronavirus deaths and nearly 500 new cases. NBC News political reporter Vaughn Hillier joins us now from Gulfland and Sunsplash, a water park in Maricopa County. Now, Vaughn, I know the park is opening on a hot day. It looks like it's around 90 degrees today, so I can imagine this is a relief for some families. Is there anyone there that's worried about possible spread?
Hey, my friend, let's just put this into context here. You asked the question, is anybody worried about the spread here? And I talked to a few folks. Sunsplash has asked us not to do interviews here based off of some of the questions we'd likely be asking folks. But to give you an idea, one of the fathers who was walking with his two young girls, he told me, quote, "We need to be here." Meaning the last 2 months, he said, they've been cooped up at home, and this is their opportunity to get out of the house. You've had a good couple hundred folks that have already walked through. I just came back over from the wave pool. To give you an idea, the facility here just opened up here in this hour. The place is trying to take some precautions, right? All the employees are wearing masks. There is tape 6 feet apart from one another to wait in line for the slides. But the reality is when you have hundreds of folks in one area, Gotti, there's only so much social distancing that can take place. And I talked to 2 other young people that looked like they were in high school, and I said, "Do you guys feel safe?" They said, "Yeah," and kind of shrugged and kept going on. But I think the important context to all this is the backdrop in which we are working, and that is the fact is that the spread of COVID-19 is far from over here in Arizona, Gotti.
And I know that the CDC has issued some guidelines released just yesterday. It includes aquatic centers. What can you tell us about the safety precautions that the CDC is prescribing for a place like that where you are?
Correct. The CDC was urging to wear face masks at these facilities, except, of course, when they're in the water. It can be a little complicated. complicated that way. But the reality is that this water park here is expanding its operations now. The city of Phoenix has decided to not open its 29 public pools, suggesting that they may not open up until June. Another predominant water park in North Phoenix is not opening yet and hasn't announced their opening date yet. But when you're talking about the precautions that are in order here, you see most folks in here walking in here. You can come along, not wearing masks. And folks gathering to take part socially. This is a tough reality, Gotti, and I mentioned those numbers. In just the last few days in Arizona, Gotti, there's 57 new deaths reported by the state of Arizona and 993 new COVID-19 cases. In just the last 48 hours, Gotti, 57 deaths and nearly 1,000 positive cases. When you look at where we're going here in the state of Arizona, yes, there's an increase in number of tests that are taking place, but the percentage of folks that are getting back positive results is only incrementally going down. So you are dealing with still a high number of cases here as Arizona Republican Governor Doug Ducey efforts the opening of the state.
Now, Vaughn, I've got to ask, it's very interesting to see some people wearing masks. Obviously, you have the best masks in the business. Other people are not wearing masks. You're in Arizona, so this is a place where it's very hot. What's it like wearing a mask in the heat out there?
It's not the most comfortable. Obviously, my aunts up in Oregon made this and very comfortable. The reality is that it is get hot. It's sort of suffocating. We had like 10 straight days of more than 100-degree temperatures. The high here is 95 today. But the reality is at what cost does it take? There's a lot of folks that say the masks are comfortable, but we're dealing with the 5th largest city in Phoenix here, Gotti. You know the Southwest well. You know what it's like in the middle of the summer here. I'm wearing my shorts. I'm trying to be somewhat cognizant of the weather that we're living in here, but the folks choose to live here. Folks choose to be a part of this community in Arizona. Maricopa County was again last year the largest growing county in the country. So folks know what they're getting into when they get here, and they have air conditioning. Most folks like to believe have air conditioning homes that they so choose to be in, but Arizona Governor Doug Ducey allowed the stay-at-home order to expire today and has opened up restaurants and places like this water park, Gotti. So this is what we find ourselves in.
You were also talking a little bit about the new orders from the governor. It seems as though some professional sports might also be getting back to business as usual. Is that accurate?
Well, the governor here, Gotti, you're right, has opened up that door. Today, professional sports leagues are now able to operate and play here in the state. Of course, it looks like there's going to be no NHL completion of their season. The NBA is talking about trying to find a way to finish their last 15 to 20 games in the NBA playoffs. In the MLB, an official source is telling me that those negotiations with the MLB Players Association continue to go forward. They hope to have games by July 4th, and so while the governor has opened up with welcome arms professional sports teams to play, so far the leagues have not been able to come up to terms to meet an agreement. In large part, I was hearing from an individual with the MLB Players Association saying, we also are looking out not only after our players, but the grounds crew, the folks that operate the team bus and the planes, the families of these players. If you can't guarantee testing on a daily basis, are these players and their families and the folks affiliated with organizations able to operate? Because you see here in the state of Arizona, just over 1%, Gotti, of folks in Arizona have been tested. Just 1% of folks have been tested in the state of Arizona. And so it's not like MLB or NBA teams have at their disposal a high number of tests because, frankly, folks here across Arizona don't even have it.
Yeah, so important to remember. Vaughn, thank you so much, and our compliments to your aunt for those masks. I mean, you should consider like your own merch line because the Vaughn masks are becoming legendary. Like we all watch every single day just to see what color of mask you've got on.
I'll tell Aunt Marge, Nancy, and Diane. We'll pass it along. Thanks, Gotti.
Perfect. The stay-at-home order in Wisconsin lifted. Some local businesses are free to reopen while others are still trying to figure out the safest way to move forward. NBC News reporter Shaq Brewster joins us now for Waukesha, Wisconsin. Shaq, local cities are handling guidelines now as opposed to the state level. It's been 2 days since the state Supreme Court overturned the governor's order. So far, how have things changed down on the local level?
Gotti, you're seeing a little bit of everything. And, you know, it's important to note when the Republican legislature sued the governor and the Department of Health for those safer at home orders and asked the Supreme Court to strike them down, they said they were doing it because they wanted a seat at the negotiating table as the governor and as the state was figuring out how to slowly reopen. They wanted to have more say in that process and what restaurants and what restrictions were in place. But since the Supreme Court struck down those orders, they said they're okay now with the local control. And that's what you're seeing. Each state and each county, each county and each town is having their own regulation, and it's a system that the governor called the Wild West. And let me show you exactly what I mean. We're in front of a sports bar right now. This is Scoop Sports Bar. We're in Waukesha, Wisconsin. This is the third largest county in the state. I'm going to let you take a look inside. This is a bar that is open right now. So this is the third largest county. It's a bar that's open. You see they're enforcing social distancing. They have spacing with the bar seats. The stools are not as close on the bar as they used to be. The tables have been spread out. They are now open. They opened up today, and their opening was in direct response to the Supreme Court's decision that broke down or that pulled back the safer at home order. Over here is Waukesha County. Across the street, that's Milwaukee County. If this bar were across the street, they wouldn't be able to open. They would not be able to function. It wouldn't look like what you see there, even if they had the same requirements, the same regulations that you're seeing in there. This is what the governor is calling the Wild West, where you have a patchwork of different things, where you have one county doing one thing, another county doing another thing. In Milwaukee County, while they are keeping bars and restaurants closed for seating, they have made some adjustments. So they're allowing salons, hair salons, nail salons to open under different restrictions. But that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing different things business to business, but you're also seeing different things county to county, block by block, mile by mile, as the governor said. Gotti?
Wow. That is wild. So across the street, a whole different set of guidelines. Has there been confusion among businesses about whether they should reopen or not?
Gotti, get this. In one county, in Kenosha, you had a situation where the Supreme Court on Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, they gave out their decision. Wednesday night, some bars started to open up. The city then said, you know what, we're going to extend our safer at home. We're going to put in our own order. So they put it in Thursday. Businesses closed again. By the evening, they said, you know what, let's undo that. We're seeing other counties are allowing this to happen. So then they removed and reversed their own restrictions. So that was a long answer to your short question. And the short answer there is, yes, it does cause a lot of confusion. Listen to what one person who works with a lot of these different restaurants, who does marketing for them, but is in touch with a lot of these business owners. Listen to what she said about the confusion this has caused.
They all get to choose because it's about the community.
That must be confusing for business owners.
It's very confusing. There has to come word from each place. Now, Waukesha County, our county exec, Paul Farrell, he put out an order or a statement saying that we should abide by the guidelines, but he's leaving it up to the people to choose, up to the businesses to choose.
Thank you. And not only did it cause confusion, but it also caused some surprise for business owners. This bar here, I was talking to him, the reason why he opened today is because that Supreme Court decision came by surprise to him. We were talking to another business that was remodeling during this portion. The safer at home order, the original order that the governor had, wasn't going to be over until May 26th. So they were in the middle of a big remodeling, and then all of a sudden they're allowed to open up their doors. So they said, you know what, we're not able to let people in at this point. A salon just down the street on this side of the street that wanted to open up when the Supreme Court made their decision, she said that she didn't have enough PPE for her employees, and she thought she had another week to get that. So you're seeing it not only cause confusion, but it's also somewhat of a hassle for businesses that were prepared to meet that May 26th date, but now that the Supreme Court has acted, they're finding that they can do essentially whatever they want, depending on wherever they are.
Wow. And you just showed us that video of people inside of that bar. You could see some of them were not wearing masks. Obviously, some people are back out at bars and at some retail establishments, I imagine, since the statewide order was lifted on lockdown. Do you feel like those are isolated cases? Does it still feel very like apocalyptic out there? Or do you think that most people are getting ready to head back out into public?
It seems like people definitely want to try to get out and do, and if they have the opportunity to, they want to get out and go and do what they normally do. I spoke to one of the ladies at the restaurant I was at earlier. I wasn't there. I was there covering their opening, and she went in and sat down and had a meal. I spoke to her when she came out, and she explained she's just been in the house for too long. She wants to get out. She wants to, in her words, be treated as an adult, and that was part of the frustration that you see. You know, we talk about these protests all the time, whether it's here in Wisconsin when they had a protest about 15 days ago. Michigan, I was covering that protest yesterday. That's something you hear from the protesters, that they want to, they feel like they can take their own precautions. They want to be trusted to take their own precautions, wear their own masks. They believe that they can socially distance on their own. But I'll tell you one thing, and you referenced it, when the night of the Supreme Court decision here in Wisconsin, you saw scenes in bars that looked like a regular evening. It looked like a regular night before the coronavirus outbreak in this pandemic was even a factor. People not social distancing, people not wearing masks. It's one of those things that people understand. They want to be able to open up, and you're going to be able to have that ability. But if you listen to the governor, he said, hey, the state is making progress. They're reversing the trend. They're bending the curve, and they're making improvements. But he's concerned there'll be a spike because, as you see here, over here on Waukesha, the cases and the situation is not as bad as Milwaukee County. Over here, there's about 1/10 of the cases of Milwaukee County. There's no divider there. There's nothing separating the two counties. So there's nothing to stop one person from going to the other. That's the concern for the governor, and that's why you have a mixture of people who are wearing their masks, practicing the social distancing, but other people who are simply saying, hey, they believe that everyone's going to catch the virus or they can handle the virus on their own. They believe that they have the right to make that decision. Gotti?
Yeah, Shaq, one street, two very different stories. Thanks so much for being out there in Waukesha, Shaq.
You got it.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.